Hey there, HorseCenter fans. Matt and I are back with another exciting edition of the show. Matt, we are talking Grade 1 races coast to coast today.
We sure are. It'll be a Grade 1 edition of HorseCenter for all these Grade 1 races.
And of course, we will be talking first and foremost about the Whitney small field, but an excellent field. Watch it all right now here on HorseCenter. Welcome to another edition of HorseCenter, everyone. I am Brian Zipsy, and as always, I have the excellent pleasure of being joined by my co-host to the East Coast. That's Matt Shipman. How are you today, Matt?
I am Grade 1 today, Brian. We got a lot of those kind of stakes to talk about today.
Grade 1 stakes, Matt. You're making me hungry. But seriously, we have 5 Grade 1 races to talk about this weekend. Del Mar, Saratoga. We're going to bounce back and forth. Breeders' Cup winning, you're in implications all over the place, Matt. A little bit of Kentucky Derby talk. It's a big show, but we got to start with this Whitney. We could have had a bigger field. We could have had more long shots in the field, but I think we got the 4 horses that we really wanted to see in this year's Whitney, Matt.
Yes, no doubt. Hey, that's the way things are these days. The big fields in these Grade 1s are kind of rare, but as long as you've got the quality like the Whitney has, I'm okay with it.
That's right. And we're going to start with the favorite, Matt, because I think Tom's Day Top finished last year, 2019, off beautifully with wins at Keeneland and then at Churchill Downs. And this year he's picked it up right where he left off, Oaklawn Park. And then, of course, Churchill Downs for the Stephen Foster, Matt. And the Stephen Foster may have been the 7-year-old horse's best race of his life.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was really impressed with the Stephen Foster. I like the way that they ran the horse closer to the pace, and he just had. I just felt like in the Stephen Foster, he was in control every step of the way. He stayed closer to by my standards because he was a horse to be feared at that point. And when he made his move down the stretch, he just. There was no question involved in that race, and I feel like the same thing could happen in the Whitney.
Yeah, well, he got a good outside post draw. Of course, there's only 5 horses, so that means the number 5 spot. But that does mean he can kind of take a look at all the other horses who want to be on or near the lead. And Tom's d'Etat is a beautifully tractable horse who can either be right there as he was in the Foster or a little farther back as he was in the Oaklawn Mile before that. Certainly the horse to beat. He's got a good record at Saratoga. I'm going to throw this out, Matt. This could be, despite the size of the field, this could be his toughest test to date. A deserving favorite. You think he's going to win this year's Whitney?
Yes, I do, Brian. He's my top choice in here, and I know it's always wise to take a look at beating what will probably be a heavy favorite, but in the current form that Tom's d'Etat is in right now, if he runs back to close to that form, he's going to be very hard to beat. And another neat thing that I noticed about Tom's d'Etat and his trainer Al Stoll is that, of course, Al Stoll has won the Whitney before, and that was with one of your and mine favorite horses back in 2010 with Blame. And interestingly, Tom's d'Etat comes into the Whitney with virtually the same races that Blame did. 3 out of the 4 last races are exactly the same victories that Blame had back in 2010, excepting with Tom's d'Etat that race at Oaklawn Park.
Yeah, of course, Blame was at Maryland earlier that year before the Stephen Foster. So, yeah, very slightly different, but the Fayette, the Clark, and the Foster are all the same. 10 years ago when Blame ran down Quality Road in another small field, but an excellent edition of the Whitney as well. Matt, I am going to I love Tom's d'Etat. I've liked him for years. I'm going to try to beat him here, though. I think there's a shot, and you get on these winning streaks, and eventually these winning streaks are broken. I think Saratoga might not be a bad place. And I think the race dynamics might set up, surprisingly, a little bit in the small field for a horse, another horse I like quite a bit, and that's Code of Honor. Code of Honor, I'll tell you what, he's going to be last early, Matt, but I think the other 4 horses all want to at least to some extent attend the pace. And I think that could set it up for Code of Honor. Maybe not a textbook speed duel by any stretch of the imagination here in the Whitney, but I think they all keep an eye on each other. I think you have horses making early moves in this race. And I think that could set the table a little bit for Code of Honor. I'll tell you what I really like about the talented 4-year-old from the Shug McGahee barn, though, Matt, is that record at Saratoga. First race of his life, he won nicely. Last year, I thought the Travers was probably his best race ever. So I think Code of Honor likes Saratoga.
Oh, there's no question about that. That in terms of the racetrack, Saratoga, where Code of Honor came out and showed his stuff last summer, and with the distance increasing to a mile and an eighth, and with the fact that Shug McGahee's barn has really been red hot this summer. Horses that Shug is sending out are virtually all running really well. Code of Honor is a horse, certainly my second choice in here. He's going to get the last run on the rest of the field, which can be beneficial. The only negative, the only knock that I have is not necessarily a knock on Code of Honor. It's the fact that thus far in the meeting, especially going a mile and an eighth, it's been really difficult to make up a lot of ground on the new Saratoga surface. Now, there hasn't been horses of the quality of this Whitney field going a mile and an eighth, so that may not come into play. But I like Code of Honor. Also, he's my second choice in this race.
Yeah, he's going to be my top pick. Remember, in the Met Mile, Vekoma did not have to run all that fast early and then was just impossible to run down late. So don't hold that too much against Code of Honor in what was his second race of the year. This will be his third race of the year back at Saratoga. I'm going to pick Code of Honor to pull a mild upset. And the reason I'm going to pick him to pull a mild upset has to do a lot with the rest of the field, because I think horses like Improbable, by my standards, really good horses, are going to make those moves that Tom State-Tot needs to keep an eye on and probably move pretty early with them. Improbable comes off a very nice win in the Gold Cup, Matt, and a horse who couldn't quite get it done in the biggest races last year at 3 looks to be a better 4-year-old.
Yeah, the Improbable's victory in the Gold Cup was finally what he finally put together all the pieces in there. Don't forget, in this Whitney, we've got the New York bred Mr. Buff, who has got a lot of speed. It looks like he's the one that's going to go right out to the lead. I assume the riders will say we're going to let Mr. Buff go a little bit because he just has not been able to get anything done in these kind of graded stakes races. And then Improbable and By My Standards are going to come after him. Either way, we all have a fairly honest pace out in front of Tom State-Tot, who will make the move to go after them, and then Code of Honor.
Yeah, and I think By My Standards needs to change his game plan just a little bit. Improbable's been moving really nicely on the turn, making those quick bursts, and I expect him to try that again in here against tougher competition. But By My Standards, I think, needs to change things up a little bit from the Foster, because he was certainly behind Tom State-Tot the whole race, and that did not work out that well for him. Interestingly, he gets Jose Ortiz in the saddle this time. He drew the rail, and after the Foster, I think they want to be out there ahead of Tom State-Tot in this race. That would be my guess anyway. And you're right, Mr. Buff. By the way, Mr. Buff, if you leave him alone for too long, I know he's the long shot in the field, but if you leave him alone for too long, he's run some nice races. He's run some nice races at Saratoga. So I don't think they can leave him alone for too long. And I think all of the other 3 horses, other than Code of Honor, will want to be pretty close to that early pace. Code of Honor's my pick. Second choice, I'm sure. Matt's on Tom State-Tot. Should be a great Whitney, and it should give us probably an early favorite for the Breeders' Cup Classic, Matt. Now, as far as the Kentucky Derby, which is 2 months before the Breeders' Cup this year, one of the favorites, and certainly my favorite for the Kentucky Derby, has been Honor AP. He hasn't run since winning the Santa Anita Derby back in early June. Now he comes back 8 weeks later. Not really a big race. It's the 1/16 Shared Belief at Del Mar, Matt. It's a little bit different kind of a prep for the Kentucky Derby, but we have to trust that John Sheriffs knows what he's doing, keeping his horse at home.
Yeah, that's for sure. And it's kind of like it's kind of the last minute. We need some more Derby preps in this. weird 2020 year version of shared belief. It looks like when they finally go in the gate on Saturday that there are only going to be 4 horses, and it's going to be Honor AP against Bob Baffert.
Yeah, Bob Baffert has 2 in there, and frankly, 2 nice horses in Cezanne, undefeated in 2 starts, a $3.65 million purchase, a son of Curlin, as well as 1,000 Words, who's a multiple graded stakes winner. But frankly, there is 3rd and 4th string right now if you're looking at Bob Baffert's Kentucky Derby hopefuls with Authentic and Uncle Chuck leading the way. I do expect improvement out of Cezanne for his 3rd lifetime race, and I do expect Cezanne to take the early lead in here. So who knows if he moves forward a little bit like Gamine moved forward in her 3rd lifetime start in the Acorn. Maybe not quite that much, though. I expect Honor AP to be tracking Cezanne, probably with 1,000 Words with him. And if Honor AP is the horse, I think he is, and Sheriff's House, I'm pretty ready for this last Kentucky Derby prep. I look for Honor AP to run a good race as a pretty big favorite and to run down Cezanne in the shared belief. How about you, Matt?
Yeah, I think he'll be a pretty big favorite, which isn't easy to do when there are 2 Bob Baffert horses in the field. But he should be the favorite. He deserves to be the favorite. 1,000 Words last time out was 2nd in the Los Alamitos Derby behind the highly touted Uncle Chuck, which was an improvement for 1,000 Words. His races prior to that, the last couple races had not been very good, and it was good to see 1,000 Words have a better performance in that Los Al Derby. So I see the race. I think Honor AP is going to win the race, regardless of how many days he's had off since that Santa Anita Derby. And then it's a battle between Cezanne and 1,000 Words for 2nd place. And I'm going to lean towards Cezanne getting 2nd.
Yeah, we're talking probably about a $5 exacta there in the shared belief if what happens is what we think will happen. Speaking of big favorites, Matt, let's go back to the East Coast. Let's go to upstate New York with Saratoga again on Saturday for the Grade 1 Personal Ensign. You remember last year the Personal Ensign was a ding-dong affair as Midnight Bassoux outdid Elate, the really good mare Elate, to the wire in Personal Ensign last year. This time, it doesn't look like she's got the same type of competition as she looks for a 2nd straight Personal Ensign. And this time, it looks like Midnight Bassoux is even better as a 5-year-old mare for trainer Steve Asmussen.
Well, that's the part of it that I want to really emphasize, is that it does look like Midnight Bassoux is better than she was last year, if that's possible, because she was awfully darn good last year. But yeah, coming into the Personal Ensign, and we've got a field of 6 in there, and it's not a bad field of 6. All these horses are coming into the race off of really good efforts in Grade 1 and Grade 2 races themselves. Yeah.
Point of Honor doesn't have a lot of speed, but Point of Honor's run a lot of good races, and she ran well at Saratoga last summer. I like the race Vexatious ran to make Monomoy Girl work a little bit in the ruffian. You got the Iowa Distaff winner in there. You got a little speed as well. But Matt, come on, this race is all about Midnight Bassoux. I'm looking at 1 to 5 or lower. And, anything but a pretty easy win for Midnight Bassoux would be relatively shocking in this Personal Ensign.
I agree, Brian. It is all about Midnight Bassoux. It's hard to put any knocks on her. She's done really well at Saratoga in the past. So, yeah, it's one of those races. Let's enjoy the stardom that is Midnight Bassoux.
Yeah, 13 of 21 lifetime. She's been good ever since she started in her first career race. She only looks better now at 5. Breeders' Cup Distaff, another try at the Breeders' Cup Distaff later this year, which would be her 3rd, or does she go Breeders' Cup Classic? Maybe we'll find out a little bit more when we see her Saturday in the Personal Ensign as a big favorite. Now, the other Grade 1 race for older females on the dirt mat is certainly not a heavy favorite because we're waiting for the draw here on Thursday morning, but it looks like all four of the favorites are pretty well set. And I'm just going to list them off real fast because they're four nice mares, and maybe people on the East Coast don't know them all quite as well. But CC, I'm still high on CC as a lightly raced daughter of elusive quality for trainer Mike McCarthy. Ollie's Candy, of course, CC and Ollie's Candy tangled in a really good edition, one of the best races of the year in my mind. For my money, that was the Apple Blossom earlier this year. Ollie's Candy also won this race last year. Fighting Matt is coming off a big win in the Santa Maria for trainer Bob Baffert. And then Hard Not to Love is frankly hard not to love, Matt. The John Sheriff's mare runs well every time, and she was second in that Santa Maria, where CC was a disappointing third. I want to see CC move forward, so I'm looking for CC to turn the tables here in the Clement Hirsch. But I think it's an interesting, nice little field for the Grade 1 race at Del Mar on Sunday.
Yes, of course, you're talking about the Clement Hirsch at Del Mar, and again, another one of those small fields, but an interesting field, and I think they should be drawing that race as we're putting together the show.
Right, Matt. That Grade 1 Clement Hirsch Sunday at Del Mar is a good race with a bunch of good California mares. So don't sleep on that one, folks. The day after the big day, Saturday, there at Del Mar. But on Saturday, we already talked about the Shared Belief with Honor AP earlier in the card. Later in the day, we have a Grade 1, the Grade 1 Bing Crosby. And it was looking like McKinsey, who was talking about the Whitney. Then they decided no Whitney. They go to the Bing Crosby. Now it looks like McKinsey's out, which leaves a pretty wide open field there, Matt.
Yeah, hey, you want big fields? Now we got one here in the Bing Crosby 6 furlong sprint, Grade 1, McKinsey out of it. It's a pretty wide open race. A couple of, I guess maybe the biggest names are Lexingtonian for Calumet, who was going to run out east, but is now out west instead, and Collusion Illusion, who is 2 for 2 in 2020.
Yeah, Collusion Illusion, I was all set to bet him against McKinsey when McKinsey was going to be a big favorite in this race. Collusion Illusion, I really like. I think he's a very nice sprinter. I think he can lay off the lead a little bit. And I think if he had gone to Saratoga for the Alan Jerkins Memorial, I would have liked him there. So I'm worried now that he's the favorite in the Bing Crosby, but I think he can get the job done against older horses. He's a 3-year-old running against older horses. Wildman Jack, nice turf horse, taking to dirt for the first time, son of Golden Sense. Desert Law was a good second in this race last year. Fashionably Fast has been really good with a winning streak up until McKinsey went Buffalo Bend last time. So the Bing Crosby's a nice race on the West Coast. And then, Matt, on the East Coast, we got the Grade 1 Alan Jerkins Memorial, 7 furlong. I think we have to start with No Parole in this Grade 1 sprint for 3-year-olds. He's coming off a big win in the Woody Stevens. He made that race look easy at Belmont Park, going wire to wire.
He sure did. They're going 7 furlongs in the Jerkins at Saratoga, and I'm probably going to sound a little bit like a broken record, but I think before the Woody Stevens, I liked No Parole, and I just felt like he was the way fastest horse in the field, and I guess I kind of feel that way again in the Jerkins Memorial. Coming back off his win in the Woody Stevens, are the second and third and fourth place finishers in that race, along with a whole bunch of others in this field of 11.
Yeah, it's a good field. Echo Town, Shoplifted, Mischievous Alex, Matt were second, third, and fourth in that Woody Stevens. I got the feeling, though, that either Echo Town or Mischievous Alice could have pressed a little bit more, could have gone out a little bit more. Instead, they waited. Maybe they were looking at each other a little bit. And then No Parole was gone. I don't think they're going to let him get away with it again. Possibly the horse coming out of the Belmont, Top It to Win, is another one that could show speed. There's a few in here that could do it. So I'm looking for someone to do it here because I want to beat this heavy favorite in the Alan Jerkins. I'm not 100% sold that No Parole is the best 3-year-old sprinter in the country. 7 furlongs at Saratoga is not easy. I'm going to try to beat him. I think maybe Echo Town is the horse that can go, or maybe Mischievous Alex can go with him. I'm looking at a long shot, Matt, or I hope he's a long shot. I'm looking at 3 Technique, a horse I know who likes Saratoga. He's been freshened since a couple races on the Kentucky Derby Trail. I know he can rally at 7 furlongs. I'm hoping for pretty big odds on the Jeremiah Engelhardt horse.
Yeah, he flashed some talent early on in the Derby Trail, as did Mischievous Alex. Both of those are interesting horses in here, and you're right, Brian. If you're looking for a time to beat a horse that's going to be a pretty clear favorite, like no parole, this is a spot to do it in with the big field. And you're right, Brian. It does make sense that these riders should not let No Parole get loose again, because if they do, he's going to be really dangerous. But it's hard to know what's going to happen these days in New York with the pace. You handicap and you say they can't let him go again. They can't let him go again. Somebody's got to go with him. But like you said, the jockeys kind of sit there and look at each other and like say, "You gonna go? You gonna go?" I don't know, Brian, but yeah, I agree with you. This is a spot to take a shot against the favorite.
Yeah, Matt makes a great point. This race really depends on the pace, because if No Parole gets a 2-length lead again down the backstretch, not running all that fast, the race is probably near over at that point. But with horses like Echo Town, Mischievous Alex, Tap It to Win, 8 Rings I haven't mentioned yet. Bob Baffert's bringing him back, and he's been working really well, and he's talented, and he's speed. So I think there's enough horses, maybe even the New York bred from the Engelhardt barn, Captain Bombastic. I think there's enough horses where somebody can push No Parole early, and I think that might soften him up just a little bit here in this tough field. I mentioned 3 Technique. I'm looking for double digits, returning for Engelhardt, track I know he likes, to come rolling down the stretch. That's my pick. Matt, who was your top pick?
I really think No Parole is going to be hard to beat, but if I'm going to try and take a shot against him, I think I'll try with Mischievous Alex. His 4th place finish in the Woody Stevens was a little bit disappointing, but again, No Parole got loose in there. If Mischievous Alex can get back to his best efforts, he could come rolling.
Yeah. All right, Matt. We talked about 5 Grade 1 races plus a Kentucky Derby prep, a favorite of mine for the Kentucky Derby, Honore P. We talked about superstars, Tom's d'Etat, Midnight Bisou. Let's talk about another superstar. And if ever you were going to beat Maximum Security, maybe it should have been in the San Diego, Matt, because he was giving a bunch of weight. Midcourt ran his eyeballs out. Midcourt took the lead away from Maximum Security on that first turn, and then the other horse, Higher Power, made a big move to kind of shuffle the speedy Maximum Security, the returning Maximum Security back pretty good there on the rail. And then Maximum Security came running. Midcourt, like I said, just ran one of his big races. I thought it was a really good return race for Maximum Security, quite frankly.
I did too, and I guess we've seen this before. Coming out of the final turn, and particularly in this situation, Maximum Security looked like he was really up against it. It looked like he was having trouble getting rolling, but we've seen that from Maximum Security in the past. But then he digs in and shows his grit and battled, and Midcourt had everything his way during the race. And it was a really valiant effort off of that long layoff for Maximum Security to get up by just a narrow margin. So, yeah, I was impressed with that performance.
Me too. First race for trainer Bob Baffert, of course, that was the big news coming out of the shamed Jason Service barn. So Maximum Security, I think he's back. I think he's back at the top of the list right there with Tom's d'Etat, Code of Honor. A few others maybe in the Whitney is one of the best older horses in the country. Midcourt doesn't always run that well, but he did run that well. And I saw a few people say that Midcourt was coming back at him again at the end, but I think it was more the camera angle more than anything. I think Maximum Security is just a really game, brave horse who wasn't going to lose this race, and he proved it again, probably back in the Pacific Classic later in the month here of August. But big return for Maximum Security. another big show, Matt, for you and I here on Horse Center. We love talking about these excellent, excellent race horses. Can I get a party shot from you, my friend?
Yeah, we sure do. That's why we do it week in and week out on Horse Center for you fans. Good luck this weekend and enjoy all those grade ones. And of course, I want to thank our producer, Brett Workman, for putting together the show and putting up with Zipsy and I all of these weeks.
Wow. Yeah, putting up with us, that's not easy. We're tough, man. Thanks to Brett. Thanks for all of you watching every week. We sure do appreciate it here on Horse Center. Matt and I are fans of our fans. We love to see out at the racetrack, and hopefully we will do much more of that next year when all the craziness is over. For now, enjoy a great weekend of racing. Next week, we're going to be coming back with a big show talking Kentucky Derby Trail, including, of course, the Midsummer Derby, the Travers. We'll see you right here next week on Horse Center.